So I want to talk now about why women just need to say yes. And I don't mean yes to doing the washing or the shopping. I mean yes to doing something you don't normally do. I think we get very put in our boxes. We get in our swim lane and we want to stay in our swim lane. And it's absolutely vital just to get out there and say yes to stuff that you think, I can't really do that. So recently I've just said yes to joining the advisory board and probably the full board of the Shetland Space Centre. Which will be the first vertical launch of a rocket in the UK ever. Nothing could be more exciting. And what do I know about space? What do I know about rockets? What do I know about payloads? What do I know about satellites? Not a lot. Not a lot at all. Actually, I know nothing. Being blunt, I know absolutely nothing. But I was asked because I've got some background in governance and I know a little bit about how you engage communities and I know a little bit about how you lobby government and I know a little bit about, and I know some people and I've got a bit of a back book and I know how to get investment. So I've got a little bit of things that I know a little bit about, but space is something I know nothing about. So let's start with why I said yes. I said yes because who wouldn't? It's space. It's rockets, it's vertical launches. It's really, really exciting. So of course I'm going to say yes, but to get to the saying yes, you've got to get over all the reasons you say no. And you start with, I say no because I don't know anything about this. But then there are all the other things that we do as women. We say no because we're, in my case now, too old, post-menopausal, too grumpy, too bad-tempered, too busy. But we've got to get over those and never, ever, ever say no because you don't think you're up to it. And women do that to ourselves all the time. There'll be somebody better than me. And that's a good one that I do. And I often look around, I think, right, who's the better person than me? Because I really want to help out. I really want to field somebody, but this isn't for me. Don't do that. Just say yes. But the thing I do when I say yes is I say yes, and I will give you 6 months. And if I added no value, I will go. Because I never want to be the hanger-on. I never want to be the passenger on the ride. But you know what? In that 6 months, you find you have added value, you've given something, and you've learned something. And boy, am I learning stuff. And what I'm learning is that all male teams don't do themselves any favours. They get really stuck in groupthink. And quite often with these much more unique and different and sort of very specialised fields, you end up, I have to say it, with the majority being men, but you also end up with the majority of people involved being from the same backgrounds. So they do things in the same way and they're not challenged. And quite often with things you will get, you know, if you're going into a big corporate for the first time, you will get corporate mainstream think. If you're into an entrepreneurial startup, which the Shetland Space Centre happens to be, Saxon Ford as it's also called, you get into entrepreneurial, got to get it all done. We're all rabbits on a wheel. We must run, 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 run. And sometimes your experience of going, hang on a minute, we need to have some systems here. We need a bit of a process. So you will always bring a different angle. And that's why I say yes. I think as well as doing the quirky and the different and the unusual and the exciting, women really need to get themselves into the mainstream as well. And the mainstream can be government, non-departmental government bodies. So the bits of government that you can get into without being an elected official. And things like I was approached, I think, 4 times before I actually put my hat in the ring to chair something called Ofsted, which is the Office of School Inspection and Children's Inspection Services. And it's a big inspection body that inspects and regulates everything to do with education and learning and children's services. The headhunter phoned me and sent me emails and I was ignoring them. And it was interesting looking back because actually she eventually got me and she just said, just talk to me. So I talked to her and I learned that they were bringing in, instead of just inspecting schools, it was going to be inspecting children's homes and children's social services. And that really interested me as well. But it was only in talking to her that I actually thought, yeah, maybe I could do this. It was fascinating. I went to the first meeting with the Department for Education and they all talked about them, why these parents didn't get their children properly engaged with education, why those people were failing, why those people weren't getting their qualifications at the right age. And I was sitting there and in the end I had to say, you've got to stop this because I am them. I might now be the chairman of Ofsted, but I got expelled from school. I didn't get my O levels. I did. I got one. I got an O level B biology. So proud. But I didn't get any other qualifications. And I had to start from scratch and rebuild and get a career and work my way up the ladder. And they were talking about me as if I was them. And that's the trouble with the groupthink. If you get everybody from the same backgrounds, who went to the same schools, who went to university and got good degrees, they think the same. And it was me just saying, you can't speak about people like this. And they were talking about parents whose kids were currently getting into trouble at school. My own children were in school at the time. And on the day they were saying this, I had a call in the morning to say that my son was being given a fixed term exclusion because he'd been naughty. So my own kids were them. And we get into this, and unless women take the plunge, get into mainstream and talk about real life experiences and don't pretend that their own kids are marvellous and everything at home is marvellous, and actually talk about the realities, we will keep making policies and we will keep doing things that actually exclude people further who need to be included. And so the thing is, when you take these mainstream jobs, it's boys, stay true to yourself. Don't become the man in the room in the suit, because they've got enough men in the room in the suits. And they actually need women saying, you know what, I'm struggling to be a mum. It's not all peaches and cream. Or you know what, my own kids are getting excluded from school and they're getting into fights and they're doing things that are wrong. And you know what, I got into trouble. And we actually bring that experience about why and what it feels like, in my case, not to be able to read a word until you were 12. And to learn how to mask and hide and mimic and be the class clown to get by, so nobody ever pulled you up on the fact you couldn't read. And nobody really did. Well, I'm still not great. And I still have a thing on the bottom of my emails that please excuse my typos, because I still get it wrong. And you know what? Getting it wrong is okay. Yes, it's embarrassing when you write to somebody and say, I do hope you're infested, instead of saying, I do hope you're interested. And of course, it's embarrassing when you get things wrong, but you own it, you put on your big girl pants and you get over it, because mistakes are a part of what makes you you. And I think we get so caught up with, I've got to be good at this. And I have made howling mistakes, and I have had massive failures. And I think the one thing that's kept me going is I'm super resilient, and I do get back up, and I do think, okay, I've got to find a way to be able to look myself in the mirror here and forgive myself, because that's the crucial thing. If you forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made, you can get out and sell yourself again the next day and pick yourself up and do it. And I decided, after doing big things like Ofsted, and I was on the board of the Royal Navy, and I was the longest serving non-executive they'd had, made some terrible mistakes there, but added some real value and I was the only woman, and got some real change in thinking and attitudes, and even attitudes towards the climate and what we should be doing in the Navy about that. And that was 10 years ago. You know, really, you can bring change and you can make the people think differently, you can add value. But for me, I also have to keep it interesting, hence talking at the start of this about joining, you know, the Shetland Space Centre and what they're trying to do as the pathfinder to be the first vertical launch in the UK, alongside Newquay that are going horizontal. We're going up in Shetland, horizontal in Cornwall, end to end of the country. It's a real movement, and the movement definitely needs women in it. So whatever you're doing and whatever you want to do, you know what, as a woman, as women, we just have to say yes.